Hey, good morning, everybody. So I figure I would infuse some clarity and some reasoning into your world. Not that you really need it, but it's another perspective. So we have this mentality that, oh, everyone should work, 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 work. And absolutely, everyone should work. But what are you working for? See, here's the thing. We have everyone thinking that, oh, yeah, you should work for your toys and for your house. But yeah, okay. Well, you work for your lifestyle, okay? Everyone has different, I don't know, ideas of what their lifestyle should be. And so that's why people work a lot of hours because they have a lot of interests and toys and things they have to uphold, or they have a lot of kids. They have a lot of dependents, so they have to work long, long hours. And so I'm trying to now figure out, okay, so what are you working for? And why are you working for? And, I want to, the humans need to start dreaming because humans that don't dream, they get stuck in working for somebody else. They lose themselves because it's all about either Jeff Bezos, or it's all about their husband, or all about their wife, or all about their kids. And why are you here? What's the point? I mean, what is your purpose? And it's not like, you have this purpose that was given to you in utero because your parents happen to be, let's say, a lawyer or a doctor or a teacher or a policeman or whatever. No, you have a purpose that's so much more than just the professions that are put out there that Farmers Insurance gives discounts for. Because that was one of the biggest things with Farmers Insurance. I was giving discounts to all the teachers, doctors, lawyers, and scientists, and librarians, and whatever, and that was my main focus. But no, there's more to life than just being what it is that your job is, right? And no, it's not out there hiking around and seeing everything, which is, yeah, that's part of life, but there's a lot more. Because when you think about your first 10 years or your first 20 years of your life, you're learning the foundations of your society. That's the first 20 years of your life. If you can survive between 0 and 20, you have it made. It's those that can't survive between 0 and 20 and they end up in jail or end up dead, well, they did not get a great background. But if you have made it through your 0 to 20, you have a great foundation ahead of you because it means that you learn from your mistakes. Okay? So from 0 to 20, if you make it, great. From 20 to 40, well, 20 to 30, you learn your profession. You learn it well. You rise above in your career. Okay? 30 to 50 is when you are now amazing at your job, amazing at whatever it is that you have set your eyes upon, you set your sights on. Maybe you're married, maybe you're divorced. 20 to, or 30 to 50 is when people are in the prime of their lives. Their kids are going to college, they're bragging rights, right? And then people start winding down between 50 and 80. Body starts falling apart. They're doing light duty. They've injured themselves. They start seeing the third lines of defense come to surface: the cancer, the disease, the chronic illness, the autoimmune disorders. And that even happens earlier on in your 20s sometimes. But modern medicine has helped you manage it until the body says, okay, I'm so desperate to live. I'm tired of all these pills, powders, and supplements. Now I'm going to really just evolve you. And you obviously haven't done what it takes to do that. And so people decrease their lifespan because the body wants to evolve. And so you see people falling apart between 50 until they die. And so this whole lifetime within 100 years, I think needs to go. Because when I think about it, like what I said on Dr. Phil about 300 years, that was just a number I put out there. It wasn't like I had any thought around it, but I'm just like, well, if I'm going to put out an arbitrary number, it might as well be 300. And so I think maybe humans now in this society, given how programmed we are in the Trinity, 300 just sound like a great number. So I probably subconsciously knew about the Trinity in my gut. And so when I put out that arbitrary number for Dr. Phil, and he put it out there as well, that actually is a jumping off point. 300 years is jumping off point. Like your first 100 years is like your first 10 years of your life. Because the first 100 years, you learn about everybody and everything. You learn about humans, animals, plants. You learn about the weather. You learn about physics, science, engineering. You learn about English, math, all this stuff. Like the first 100 years of your life, you're learning about the world that you freaking live in. Not about fighting cancer, disease, and chronic illness, which is yes. But that's most of what people are dealing with in their lifetime. It's always about the drama in their family and fighting an illness and resisting evolution, like destroying viruses through vectors and all that stuff. Okay? So really, the first 100 years of your life should be understanding how to overcome cancer, disease, chronic illness, not starving yourself, learning about the intentions of people, sidestepping BS, learning about everything, what it takes to live in society without overdoing it and underdoing it, and learning balance. The first 100 years, you learn balance. So that way you're not overdoing it or underdoing it. Because you know if you overdo it, then you're going to die. If you underdo it, you're underutilizing yourself, and then you're a sloth, stagnant, and you're not, and there's issues going on if you're not motivated to live, right? So the first 100 years, you discover yourself, and you discover the people around you, and you discover the world you live in, and you realize what it takes to actually live on this planet. That's your first 100 years. Because let me tell you, I'm almost 50 and I've barely scratched the freaking surface. It took me 5 years to figure out my health issues. It took me the last 47 years to grow up. Oh, some of you are like, well, I'm 50 and 60 and I'm so full of wisdom. I mean, you look at the people in high levels of government. You look at like the judges. You think they're all so full of wisdom and so full of everything. And yeah, they have a lot of knowledge. But they don't have to die. They could do more than just being a Supreme Court judge. They could do more than just being a senator. They could do more than just being a president. There's a whole lot more to life than just being a leader or just being a follower. But we haven't even figured that out yet, because that was always put in front of us. Either you're a leader or you're a follower. You're either going to be a drone or you're going to be, some despot or benevolent, or some cult leader or whatever. And so our kids and us have never really reached beyond just this menu of items to choose from. And I never liked the menu of items. I thought I asked myself when I was punished one time, middle of the room, with my hands folded, going like, is this all there fucking is? Is this all there is? And I was rebelling like crazy when I was a kid. Well, I was also starving too. So now I understand why I was such a rebellious child, always sneaking food. And so my mom, criminalized that because I was fucking starving. She's like, no, you can't have that. That's bad. You can only have food at this time, this time, and this time. So yeah, I was relegated to stealing food in my own household. So I was criminalized as a small child. And so I'm in my room punished for either lying or stealing food. I'm in my room going like, is this all there is? Is this all there is? And no, there is. This is not all there is. There is so much more. There's so much fucking more. But people are so clouded by their health issues, so clouded by the drama of their lives, so clouded by raising children, doing it all over again when they haven't even figured out their own fucking lives, and they want to go and raise kids. I'm just like, no wonder we're all in a messed up predispositions, because parents haven't even figured out their own BS. But yet they still pass on those idiosyncrasies to their kids, who will never learn either, because the parents are like, oh, it's all about today and doing this and doing that, not cultivating the brain, and it's all about fighting my health issues and looking cute and finding that menu on the item and really cultivating it, and then that's it. That's your life. And your grandmas, play that game. Your aunts and uncles play that game. All the people in your society play that game. So yeah, there's no evolution in society when people are just following each other over the cliff. And so I'm thinking like, the first 100 years, you learn about everything. The second 100 years, you are now like applying what you learned. And you're going to make all your mistakes. Because you make a lot of mistakes in your first 100 years. Absolutely. I made a lot of mistakes in the first 40 years of my life. Oh, let me tell you, you saw some of the mistakes I've made. But the first 100 years, you make some mistakes, but you still learn about the world that you live in. But the second 100 years, you make the mistakes as you're applying everything you learned, to what it is that you're trying to do. And I'll tell you what, it takes a very strategic person to live to 200 years old and still have the body of a 40-year-old or a 30-year-old and not age, not degrade, not fall victim to all the crap in the society, to learn how to separate herself or himself from all the drama and learn how to be autonomous. And so autonomous people who can live in a diverse society will live the longest because they learn how not to depend upon other people who are going over the cliff like everybody else. That's the thing, is you have to learn how to extricate yourself from the freaking crowd. Oh my God, that's almost impossible. So you watch the crowd just follow each other over the cliff. And so when someone lives to be 200 years old, they're going to take everything they've learned by watching everyone that's fallen over the cliff and be like, yeah, I'm not going to be that person. I'm not going to be that person. I'm not going to be that person. I'll be an example. I'm not going to shove my example down everyone's throat. If you don't want to hear what I have to say, then stop following me. If you don't like me, then block me. Okay? No one has to do whatever I'm doing. But there's a reason why I do what I do. There's a reason why I walk away from things, people, places, and things. It's not because I'm mean, because I'm trying to evolve. And some people have very powerful personalities that even overwhelm me. And so when I feel someone's overwhelming me, okay, it's not even about like how they treat me. I mean, whatever, people are people. But it's about influence. It's about energy. Okay? You got to be the life-giving energy in your world. And you have 5 people that are trying to suck the life out of you. You can't survive in that situation. You got to walk away. And so people don't know how to walk away from those type of situations because they don't even know how to take care of themselves. They're so dependent on their community. And so at some point, when someone lives to be, 100 years old, and now they're setting on their path to live to be 200 years old, they learned how to walk away from the crowd. They learned everything about the crowds and the world. And they have carved their own path, their own journey, and still are able to live in a dynamic society full of people who are doing all the same things with each other. And so I want to be the example for myself because I actually find peace on my own. I like hanging out with my husband, and it's nice just one-on-one. Because even though he might think opposite of me, he's not overpowering me. It's when it's him and everyone that's like him that is around me that I can't fight. I can fight my husband if I need to. Not that I have to, because he learned not to really fight me because I'm very powerful. And he's very powerful. And his beliefs, so am I. It's like the yin and yang. But then you have the yin-yin and the yin-yin-yin-yin-yin-yin-yin-yin. I can't fight against 5 yins. There's no way. And so that's why I just kind of say to myself, because I don't want to be part of a crowd that destroys themselves. I want to lift my husband up. I want to make sure he evolves. I want to make sure the people that he is around evolves if they want to. If they don't want to, that's fine. Then we can go our separate ways. But that's the thing about me, is that the next 100 years, after this 100 years, is going to be about really, truly applying everything that I've learned. Because right now I'm learning writing. I learned some math stuff. I learned some science stuff. I learned, the law about publishing. I learned the law about websites. I learned how to build a website. Okay. I mean, I learned that's why I wrote all that stuff about my experiences. I've been to, I've traveled, I've snorkeled, I've done a lot of things, and I've been in and out of different diverse groups. So I have a lot of experience, a lot of different people, because I've chosen to put myself in situations to understand different cultures, different ways, different belief systems. And yeah, there's a lot of resistance to either my way and I resisted their way, but I understood it. Doesn't mean I agree with it, but I understand it. I understand where it comes from. And so then I moved to, wherever. And so I wanted to show that, yes, that you can. The way for you to evolve is to be exposed to so many different types of people and thought processes and things and belief systems, and not to pigeonhole yourself into one thought process, into one activist stance, into one belief system. There's so much more to life than just this narrow point of view of being anti-government or anti-person who isn't trying to be pro-vax or something. And so there's a lot more life, but people have been pigeonholed, people have been triggered and gaslighted to react, and then this is all their life is able to, this is all they're able to come out of life is just, oh yeah, I was an activist. Oh yeah, I was a mom. Oh yeah, I was a dad. Which, yeah, okay, it's important, but if you haven't resolved your issues, then what are you teaching your kid? If you haven't resolved your issues and you haven't figured out a way to carve out a different path for yourself and for whatever for your community, then what are you teaching your kids? The same thing over and over and over again. So the third 100 years, oh my God, that's going to be like innovation, evolution, everything. Because you'll learn one layer of stuff in the first 100 years. You'll learn a second layer of stuff in the second 100 years. The Trinity, is when evolution happens. And innovation, and it could be building spaceships. If my government and the people, the powers that be, and biotech and all of that, they start taking cues from the JJ mentality, not the JJ protocol, because we're not trying to cure cancer all the time. If you have cancer, it means that everyone's at a freaking deficit. Okay? So if curing cancer is the number one thing in any society, the people are fucking starving. They're taking vectors causing deficits so they can't evolve, and they are starving because they're in their political platforms of GMO versus organic. And so yeah, if biotech number one baby in the society is somebody finding the cure for cancer, then yeah, that society is not going to last very long. And so only the very few are going to find a way out of that mentality of looking for the cure for cancer because people are fucking starving. And so the third 100 years is finally having the innovation when people finally figure it out. There's only going to be a few. Because I tell you, there's only a few in my JJ world that freaking get it. Because I think they're still on the JJs, living in a cured state, thinking everything is wonderful, yeah, for very temporary. And there's people that, that do get it. They're off the JJs and they're dealing with the environment. They're dealing with the mucus and the second lines and the first lines, and they're dealing with the headaches if they have to. I don't have any headaches. I don't have any muscle pain, now. I don't have any fatigue. Yeah, I'm eating a lot more. I'm not eating I wasn't eating a lot last night, but I noticed when I eat a lot, it means that, yeah, virus is running through me. It's taking up resources and upgrading me, and I have to keep feeding it. And so I understand the mechanisms behind evolving and upgrading in a dynamic society that is starving, full of cancer, disease, and chronic illness, and are at major deficits. And so, yeah, you're going to see people somewhere, pockets of people living past 100, living past 200. Okay? And the key thing is staying away from a lot of people. When you're around a bunch of people, I don't care who it is, you're going to follow the crowd over the cliff. When you're that dependent, like I'm saying, you need humans, but you don't need as many as you think. But people who are that dependent, who are that, not even dependent, but that at a deficit, need a lot of friends. They need a lot of people around them all the time. And when you finally start shedding most of your friends and your activist groups and all of your circles of influence, and you start working autonomously, worlds will open up. I'm telling you what, worlds will open up. And that is something that is going to be so difficult for some people who live in their cliques, who have large families. And I'm not against large families, and I'm not against large cliques, but what happens is that people get homogenous. They don't evolve when they're constantly being influenced by a large family and a large cliques. And I've experienced them all. Whether it's the outside looking in or the inside looking out, not that I had a large family, but I've been parts of different families. I've seen them, in California, Ohio, and I think everyone is beautiful. I want them all to survive, and I want them all to evolve. But it means that I can't follow everything that they do. It's either I follow them or they follow me, and who am I to them, right? I'm just some chick from California. So then you have to part ways if people can't evolve, if they're trying to destroy themselves for whatever reason, and that's fine, that's their choice. I don't want people to destroy themselves. I do everything I can to stop people from destroying themselves. I'm not trying to make it miserable because, yeah, people love their lifestyles, but at some point the lifestyles have to be kind of like minimized. It doesn't have to take such a primary portion of your life. But that's not for me to to go in and legislate morals. But I want to be that seed that gives people the possibility that at some point when they're done with all of those games, when they're done with all of the self-destruction, when they're finally have relinquished, ties with people who are very destructive to themselves and to whatever, that they have another way to be. They have a possibility to be something different. That's all that I do. Because no matter what, and people say like, well, Jillian, you always have problems with everybody. Why do you have problems with everybody? Because everybody has an issue out there. Everyone is going over the cliff together. And I'm saying it doesn't have to be that way. Even before the JJ, I was always different, always clashing with people. Why is that? Because I didn't subscribe to the mentalities of I'm telling you, every single people that I've hung out with, no matter what, I don't care, from California all the way to here, I've had issues with. Well, then you're the main reason. Maybe you have an issue. Maybe I don't want to follow. Again, when I was a kid, I didn't want to follow the rules. I didn't want to follow the crowd. I didn't want to be programmed in such a pigeonholed way. I've had issues ever since I was a fucking kid. Not because there's something wrong with me. Maybe because there's something wrong with everybody else. Oh, but that's very narcissistic, Jillian. Why don't you just conform? That's the thing. When you conform to self-destruction, and you're not really, and you've been starving and you've been trying to survive in a crazy world, you see self-destruction even if you don't really know what it is, and you rebel against it. And then when you see it practiced in circles of people and families and people and practices, and I'm just like, no, I can't go out like that. I can't. Then, yeah, and then when people are trying to influence and trying to really seriously program me, and I'm like, no. Yeah, I'm going to clash with a lot of people. With everybody, actually. But I can't take when someone says, well, you're the main problem. No, I'm not really the problem. I'm just trying to fit into a place that doesn't understand evolution. That doesn't understand that someone's just like, oh, maybe this isn't right. Maybe drinking this much alcohol isn't right. Because I have people tell me, well, why don't you drink alcohol with like when I was with, I'm not going to say who there because I don't want to totally put people on blast. But people were getting drunk around me, right? And I'm like, and I first came to a state, whatever it was. And I was living with somebody and they were all getting drunk all around me. And then the wife said, well, why don't you get drunk with these people? What's wrong with you? I'm like, I didn't see a point. I didn't see a reason why. And if she was looking at me like I was crazy, like, well, like, what, are you too good? See, that's the thing, is that when people don't want to follow the crowd stuff, then the crowd starts saying like, well, what, are you too good for us? Are you Pollyanna? You think you're better than us? And so then, yeah, so then it's not going to work. I'm not going to be able to conform. So that's when the other problems happen, when they realize that I'm not like them, that I won't follow people and stay in that mentality. I want to evolve. I want to take on the information and learn that and help people, yeah, but I don't want to stay and destroy myself in any circle. I don't care what it is, whether it's in California or Ohio or Florida, Washington, Mississippi. And so evolution does take breaking away from the mainstream, does take breaking away from your circle of people. Because right now, kids are starving. You see it, skinny kids. You see that parents are starving. Either they're obese or there's nothing to them. Or they look rather average, but they've had operation after operation after operation just to maintain their status quo. And so, I just kind of stay back. I just observe and I just chill on my own little tiny island, whatever it is. Still have access to the outside world, but I will not be influenced by the outside world. No fucking way. Not in this environment. Absolutely not. Because before it was a little bit manageable. Now everyone's just going whatever their intentions are at a very accelerated pace because the energy is that palpable. And so I'm going to say that, yeah, 300 years is just the jumping off point. So I could see that, yeah, Moses probably lived to be 900 years. I could see that probably all the different biblical figures were probably giants, and they had a lot of resources at their disposal. They had the salts, they had the meat, the milk, the cheese, the eggs. They had the human slaves to go and build things, and they would go and help direct and whatever. And so, I can kind of see the credibility of the Bible, and that 900 years is really not too far from the possibility. But 300 years is a jumping off point. So, anyways, I give you guys a lot of credit if you're able to withstand the evolution of this society. Some people will die in this society and they won't evolve, and you're seeing it. Some people have the possibility to evolve. And they can't say too much because people are afraid of the salt. Yeah. People are afraid to eat. They're afraid of everything. Afraid of viruses. Afraid of each other. And just to make one thing clear, I'm not afraid of people. I mitigate risk, but I'm very well protected. Okay, very well protected. And I'm fit as a fiddle. Clear head, clear mind, strategize. I know the laws and the rules of my society. And it's all about self-preservation. So, you guys will figure it out. But you don't need half as many people as you think you do. All right. Bye.